Hello to the regular visitors of the channel, and a special welcome and invite to the new visitors to subscribe. Now let's go for the most tedious part in my opinion, which is undoing all the radio wiring that is already in there. So I'll have to unplug the joint unit. Okay, now the head unit is out. And now here I'll have to pull out the old interface. As I told you earlier, it's easier to work in here if you remove the HVAC control unit. And this is what we'll have to remove. This is the original car harness, and there's also the control unit, which is stuck behind. Okay, here it comes. And this is it. So I'll organize all of these cables here. Back again, I just finished removing the access interface. Now this area is much more clear. This is the original harness of the car for plugging into the original head unit. But after doing this, I found a couple of surprises. The first one is that there is no accessory power in this harness, in the car's harness. So I was just reading forums, and the closest accessory source will be down here in the ignition switch. So I'll have to use the brown wire from the ignition switch to get accessory power, which is not a problem. And the second surprise is that the harness I purchased, if you remember this one, it's not correct for this car. The connector is different, so I can't use this. But anyway, the only thing I will need from the car right here is ground and power. So I don't think it will be completely necessary to get a whole harness just for connecting two wires in all of this. So I'll just tap the ground and the battery power from here, and the accessory power, as I told you, from the ignition switch. With the head unit connections sorted out, now I can start wiring all the lines that requires to go from the head unit to the amplifier. I have already here pre-cut the signal wires for the speakers. There are 4 lines, one for each speaker. I just made a raw cable passing through the car to estimate how much wire I will need. And here each line is about 240 feet. That would be 620 meters. So you can do this for all the wires instead of going with the whole roll of wire through the car, which is kind of a mess. I'll start here to solder the RCA connectors into the wires. I'd recommend you to do some tags to identify each speaker line, because when you run all the wires from the front to the back, you don't have to start wondering and testing which one is which. The cables are finished. If you did your cables yourself, like in this case, I recommend you to do a continuity test on each of the cables, so you can verify that none of them are short. So put your negative lead from your multimeter on the negative on the other side and verify for continuity. Also do the same test, positive and negative, and verify that there is no continuity, so the cable is not short. And the same test, positive and positive, and then back to negative. You can take your bunch of RCA cables and wrap them up in these cable organizer things, and you can slip them from behind the console into the head unit area. This way they will be more organized. Then you can start just organizing this below the dash. You will have to find your way and locate the suitable places to hook them up or strap them down, which works better for you. Anyway, we'll have to keep continuing the routing through the carpet as the same as the power wire on the other side. Now this is a tricky one. For getting the speaker wires inside the door, your best option is this tab up here. let me try to show you this as best as possible. This is the door, the side kick panel. This is behind the door boot. Hold on a second. Okay, up there you see this square tab around here. There's some cables going through it. Those are the cables that comes from the door. Above those cables there's a little groove. Let me try to show you that, because that's where we're aiming for. Okay, there you see there's a little groove in there, so you'll have to your cables will easily come through it. The tricky part is to catch them on the other side. They will come right through the door boot right here. So you'll have to work your way with the cable in there. You can use some help with a semi-rigid wire, just as we did with the power wire through the grommet from the engine bay. So I'll do this with both hands, of course, and we'll continue as long as I pass it. If you find too hard to catch the wire, you can remove the tab and separate it a bit from the body to get more space to work with the cable. The tab will bend a little, so try to pull it with your fingers from the upper or lower corner. With your speaker cable all right inside the door, now you can add the connector. I've already did here, and you can just use a zip tie to attach the wire inside the door. In this hair you can hold it to the harness in there with the zip tie, so it isn't loose around in the door. After the wire being passed, I put some loom, I think is the name of this I have found, for the speaker wire. As remember, it is passing close to the power wire down here, so that will give better insulation. Now finally just route this as best as possible behind this. And organize it down there and into the carpet. And then this area is pretty much done, so you can put everything here back in, the panels, the floor panel, and everything in this area, and you can continue into the back of the car with the rest of the wires. Now I need to address something else in the rear speakers before continuing with the wire routing. The kicker speakers already installed in the rear part of the car are gonna be kept here, but still we'll have to remove them to pass the new speaker wire, because the actual wire for this speaker is going into the car harness, but we need a direct connection to the amplifier. this wrap you see there was placed there to avoid the connector rattle inside the car. This is the wire for the rear speaker. This is for the driver's side. I have already slipped in here the passenger side. As you can see, here's the connectors, and it is gonna be guided along with the other cables. Check here, there's a little bit of the red foam. That is just to avoid rattle here, even though they are wrapped around together. So, and something else you can do here as well is to wrap the old connector from the car, this one, with the same foam, as it is gonna be not connected to anything, so it doesn't rattle in there. For the ground wire, I didn't have the same wire gauge size as the power wire, so I just bundled up to three separate wires, which are different gauge, but I just used this online combined AWG gauge calculator. So it's no big deal. So I just crimped all of them. I'll just loom all the wires together, and it will be just like a single wire. It's just a little bit more bulky, but at the end it's just the same, so no big deal with this. Okay, now I'm attaching here the ground wire, already loomed. Be sure when you're done tightening this that the terminals sit correctly and making very good contact, and then you can continue guiding the power wire, the ground wire, and the speaker wire, which is loomed as well for better isolation, right up here into the back of the car. This is how the wire guidance is going. If you see behind the seatbelt trim, they are organized through the side, and they are going then down under the carpet. The power wire is going behind the speaker plate, and these other two in here, ground and speaker, they are attached into the car's harness. Let me show back here behind the speaker. They are also attached in there into the car's wall. I had to make a couple of gymnastics in the trunk to get in there Now let me show you in the back. Right here. Okay, so the wires are coming through there. Right there, there's also clips attaching them into the car so they don't keep loose. And I lifted this whole carpet in the floor. Okay, if you see there, in one side is the power wire and the other side will be the speaker and the ground wire. And to take them out into the amp, I made a hole in the carpet here to run all the wires through it, so they will go directly into this area where the amp connections will be. But first, check here all the organized wires for the audio signal and the speaker wires, the remote and the bass knob. All of them wrapped. Now into the trunk. They are correctly passed above the fender and going down into the little pockets in the trunk. If you see here, there is a section without cable wrapping, so I can spread the cables and sit correctly the carpet. All of the bunch of cables are going behind a little groove in the shape of the trunk, but as I did on the right side, I will drill a hole in the carpet to pass all the wires from the left side right here. Now I have already passed the wires from the left side of the car into the hole, through the hole I just made on the carpet. As you can see, there's a lot of wire in there. I'll have to cut them for the correct length. The amplifier will be just to the side of them, so it is not necessary so long cables. I made a mistake actually by installing the RCA connectors on both ends of the cables. So now I'll just have to remove again all the 4 RCA connectors I installed, 5 with the subwoofer, and I'll have to shorten the cables and reattach again the RCA connectors, solder them. Something else you can do here in the door is take a little piece of the same foam we use for the adapter plate and wrap it around this white connector, which was for the old speaker assembly, and just tie it down here to this harness, so to avoid an additional small rattle with this. One last thing I'll be doing here in the door is to apply some deadening material. This is a special foam for sound deadening. I just got it from Amazon, and I will not do something super professional. I'll just cover the area behind the speaker and the area behind this hole around here. If you see this weather protection, it sounds a lot. I mean, there's a lot of echo from vibration in here. So I'll just put this down and apply some of this foam behind in the door. Just clean very good the area behind, So the foam, it is be sure to get one which is self-adhesive, so you can get this job done easily, and that will be better than without anything, of course. To replace this whole assembly with new speakers, I've got these Metra adapter plates, which has the same template, the same bolt pattern in here, so this will fit directly with no problems. And there's even space here for the crossover, and I think I'll be installing the tweeter here as well. There's some kind of rattle here, if you can hear it. Of course, if you tighten the bolts, that's not supposed to be happening, but anyway, I'll be doing a little bit of sound deadening around here, not something completely professional, where the whole door is covered with sound deadening material. But what I will do with these plates is to put some ethyl vinyl foam, like this one. So I'll just cut some to cover the borders of the piece to avoid that rattle you just heard in there. The Metra plates will be used for the whole component speaker installation. These are the 6.5 inches speakers which fit perfectly in here. And for the tweeters, they will be mounted here as well. They will not be mounted in the A pillar or in the dashboard. They will be just close to the mid-range speaker. They come with these little mounts, which allow them to be directed. Can you see there? So just a hole will be drilled here. I have already marked it there here. So this will be right in this position, and the crossover, it will be just above the tweeter. I'll check later if I can fit it in the back part. I have already marked as well here where the door sits, to see if it will fit behind, so I don't have to drill a hole in here to bring the wires into the front part. But the kit, the component kit, will have everything necessary for these mounts, so this will work well, I think. Now I'm gonna put the speakers in the plate, while the correct way is right here. But first I'm gonna put this speaker foam, which is included with the component kit. I'll just put some around the edge of the speaker. It's self-adhesive, so this will be no problem. The wiring for the whole speaker assembly is very straightforward. You just need to run a small section of wire from the speaker into the crossover, and it's just positive and negative. Even it is marked in there which one is for the tweeter and which one is for the woofer or mid-range speaker. And the tweeter, the same, positive and negative. The only issue here with this specific brand, the Infinity tweeters, is that they come with this kind of spade connector, and the crossover they include here, they use this type of fork connector. I don't know why they do this, knowing that they will be wired in here. So you just have to change the terminals into the tweeter, and that's it, and organize your wires here so that they won't hit anything inside the car, and that they don't keep rattling it in there or making any noise. And finally, if you want, you can add this kind of plug and play connector in the line-in terminals, because here it will be the wires which come from the amplifier. So in case you need to remove this whole assembly, you can just unplug it with this kind of connector instead of unscrewing the connectors directly into the crossover. And this is the finished component speaker assembly. Everything in place. They are ready to be connected into the car. All the wiring is ready. All the terminals installed. The tweeter can be directed into the required direction. Now the whole speaker assembly can be placed in the door. You might want to check before the tweeter position, because as you remember, you can swivel this in here or rotate it. So you might want to test the position before finally attaching this here and putting the door panel. But anyway, I have already did that. This is the position which is trying to be aiming into the passenger's ear, and the other one in the other door will be aiming towards the driver's ear. Well, at least that's the purpose.